All right, we're here at the Liberty Summit 2014 in Phoenix, Arizona. Glad to have Eyre, co-founder of CopBlock.org. Glad to have you back here in the Valley. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, Mark.
You know, it's been a couple. What was it? About 2 years ago?
Yep.
Last time? Yeah, that was. You surprised me. I wasn't expecting you to be there because you came walking into Ernie's house.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
this is cool. So it's always good to go to Ernie's when he's got something like that because you or someone else could show up. But I'm glad to have you here. I want to talk a bit about CopBlock. But first, big news because Adamos.
Right.
What happened with Adamo?
Adamo Freeman, founder of CopBlock.org, he had been convicted of wiretapping 3 felony counts in New Hampshire, and that was just overturned by the New Hampshire Supreme Court, thanks to some work of Brandon Ross, who's a lawyer up there who helped Adamo, based on some of the language that the judge had miscommunicated, and stating that Adamo had willfully acted a certain way, which wasn't true. So they essentially threw out, which was good because Adamo had spent 3 months caged in Valley Street Jail in Manchester, but more importantly, he still had years hanging over his head. So he's able to not be under that threat. There's a chance that they may try to levy charges against him, but I think that's pretty doubtful with the amount of pushback to the resources that were wasted on that witch hunt in the first place.
Well, yeah, and it sucks that even if it's completely thrown out and he's completely exonerated, I mean, the man did 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he did something good. You know, he was one of the people. I mean, the incident that he was involved with, there was a couple of high schoolers that had reached out to us. We were in town doing some outreach based on another incident, and we told them, hey, if you see a police interaction, film. Look out for your friends, for yourself. And one of the high schoolers had been approached by a police employee, a school liaison officer, Darren Murphy, who eventually assaulted the student, slammed him on the table. And so they came to us with this video, and Adamo posted it, and Adamo called the school and the Manchester police to follow up and get some comment. And because of that, they went after him. They said he wiretapped. So, I mean, Adamo acted in the right. If I would have assaulted a kid, and a friend or family member called me, they would, they would be well within their rights to question, what had happened and why it was being allowed to happen. So Adamo not only acted in the right, but he was persecuted for it because he dared to question the so-claimed rulers.
well, and I had Adamo on the show, when it was all going on, and to think that they know who he is.
Right.
They know you guys, and they know that everything's being recorded. He knows, he even mentioned he was from the media.
Right.
And the idea that together with the fact that all the calls are already recorded. It's like when you listen to my call of shames, that I always tend to keep at the beginning of the call, when we get on there, that the IRS and your call may be monitored. Well, it's not may.
Right.
It damn well is being monitored.
Right.
So kudos to him to sticking up to the man. And from what we've seen in Keene, and you can go to freekeene.com and get the information, of course, at copblock.org, that you guys have been throwing a beating to some of these bureaucrats out there, because not only was this tossed out, and it probably won't be retried, but now the Robin Hooding, you guys were success. I know that you weren't actually a Robin Hood.
Right.
But you were still a part of that, and that got tossed.
Well, yeah. Well, it still is. There's still a chance it might continue on. I guess, from my understanding, the city of Keene asked if we'd sit down and do some mediation, and obviously, since myself and the 5 others that were named in this suit didn't harm anybody, we have nothing to compromise. There's no reason we need to admit to anything we did wrong and try to meet them halfway. So, again, we're pretty steadfast and resolute, the other 5 being represented by John Meyer, a lawyer based out of the Shire up there. So it's been, it's ridiculous the amount of coin and resources that have been spent to defend, an undefendable position.
Well, I would suggest this. I would throw this out, and of course, just like with Damo or anybody else, I always figure at something like this, if they're going to do a mediation, it's my opportunity to get you face to face. And if I get you face to face, I can ask you some really difficult questions. So I look at it, maybe it's like I have an unsigned plea of guilty. Hey, I'm willing to play ball with you right now, and I intend on pleading guilty. Has the prosecution given you any evidence? And so you may, because if you could do it telephonically, I'll talk. Yeah, what about this? Let me see, what kind of evidence do you have to show X, Y, Z? And that may be something that you could use than later.
That's a good point. Yeah, I know I don't like being involved with legal land stuff,
Yeah.
and so I'm not going to proactively put my name into being involved.
Well, I understand,
So, yeah.
and they shouldn't have named you. I mean, even if they had a legitimate claim, what the hell? Why attach you?
I don't know. I mean, it's Keene's a town of 25,000 or around there, so who knows? They may have, depending on who actually just said, "Hey, let's go after these Robin Hooders." If it was Ken Mayola, the top dog of the Keene police outfit, like I know he probably doesn't approve of us questioning their legitimacy. So maybe he said, "Hey, let's include this person as well." I'm not sure.
Miola used to talk to you.
Well, he's talked to me a little bit, but he's been pretty evasive. He used to I think he used to sit down with Ian Freeman in the past, but
Yeah.
with me he's been very. He said essentially the extent of the conversation he's had with me is, I know who you are, I know what you're about, and I don't want to have a conversation with you. And I was like, what does that mean? What am I about? Can you define that for me? And he has pretty much been pretty non-conversational since then.
Well, I have you beat there. That's something we have in common. That Miola would not take any of my calls.
Interesting.
I've probably left I don't know, a dozen messages. He won't call.
Interesting.
Because what happened? I spoke to Jean Killam, which you're very familiar with.
Yep.
She didn't have any evidence against. I was helping Ian. She didn't have any evidence against Ian, and we know from if we go to freekeen.com or my website, markstevens.net, I did the video. I don't know how much you got to see of that, but the psychopath Michael King, he terminated my feed, and so that was that. So, but I didn't just stop with Gene Killam. I went through the food chain, and so I have, as my call of shames, I have the other supervisors above Gene. The name escapes me, but they're just under Miola, the captain. And they don't, so maybe Miola had kind of a heads up that, oh, don't talk to this guy from Long Island. He's Phoenix. He asked really difficult questions.
Right.
So I want to get into something. All right. So going more about what you guys do at CopBlock, which you and Adamo Freeman are the co-founders. Talk a little bit about, and of course that's copblock.org. Talk a little bit about what the main goal is. It's not just filming the police officers. It is you're challenging. Well, the reason why Miola won't talk to you is because you're challenging.
Right. It's very much more than just the act of going out and filming the police or encouraging people to do that. Because at the end of the day, if that doesn't act as a deterrent, there's been groups that have been filming the police since cameras, for a couple of decades now, since cameras have been around. But it seems like the police apparatus has gotten worse or more heavy-handed, less transparent, less accountable, and that's not surprising. That's built in that institution. It's based on coercion. So ultimately, CopBlock's more of an idea than an institution, and it's the idea. We just try to encourage people to ask who owns you, and if you own yourself, you should be free to act as long as you're not hurting anybody. So if somebody has a piece of tin on their chest or a certain costume, that doesn't mean that they have any extra rights or any less rights than you do. So if we see this group of people, police employees, that supposedly claim immunity for their actions, and they first claim the right to steal from people in the community to then protect them, you're never going to get justice out of that institution. So ultimately, my goal with CopBlock is just to get people to think about that structure and then to recognize the inherent flaws within it, and then to look for alternatives, which it means not calling 911, not granting someone as an authority because it's claimed, and instead building networks and communities of resiliency and implementing peaceful solutions and the advocacy of non-aggression principle. But yeah, so filming the police is one tactic. We also, try to say if there's no victim, there's no crime. So if you find yourself threatened with some BS charges, to not take plea deals and just to go that route, and put the burden on them and work with people in your area.
Yeah, I like the idea of never take a plea. And I always screw this up. I do it live on the show. I have no excuse for doing it now, but it's nevertakeaplea.com or.
Well, there's.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, on freekeen.com there's never take a plea. There's don'ttakeaplea.org. But that site hasn't been updated for over a year now, I don't believe. But it's still a good resource, like the content that's there.
Well, because what you guys are doing in Keene is tying them up, and because you guys, but you're, as activists, you're going to spend the time in the court. But the idea has, I believe, a lot of merit. I think it's noble to purposely go out, not comply, get the ticket, and not take a plea. Even because it's just what, $5 in Keene?
Yeah.
I mean, $5 is like, well, I'm going to spend a half of my day with these people. But by clogging up the courts, if more people do it, they can't possibly, you overwhelm the system.
Right,
You can't do
yeah, and this is something, again, it's an idea, and if people think it makes sense that they could replicate where they're at and hopefully get in touch with people in their area to have some more support on the ground. But because ultimately, yeah, you do, I mean, I don't want to live my life, and I don't want anybody to live their life as a reaction to somebody else. So ultimately, it's just once you incorporate that idea that you should be free to act, then pursue your happiness, and then if someone comes at you, then you can, engage in damage control, and hopefully people, you have a good reputation, and people trust you, know you, and they'll come to your aid as well, and let you do the same.
Well, the network is great because it started just with the one website, but now how many chapters, do you know how many chapters you have of CopBlock?
No, we have a groups page on the site, and there's over, I mean, they vary to the extent of activity. Some groups have been started with great intentions and were active for some time and are now relatively inactive. Some groups just have like one person. Some have a handful. Some have people that go out on the street and create content or doing activism and events and outreach in their areas. But there's over 150 groups that are CopBlock, CopWatch, and Peaceful Streets listed on that groups page.
All right, now, we actually had someone on the show who's got a lot of tickets thrown out, and he belongs to a chapter in London.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, you guys, it is definitely growing, which is great.
Definitely.
And I think that it's great to also have the principle, the non-aggression principle behind it.
Right.
That you're showing that this is the natural result when you have people doing business at the barrel of a gun, when you have violence covered by lies. This is the natural result.
Right. Exactly.
That it cannot be any other way.
That's right. Yes, yeah. So just delegitimizing it and pulling the curtain back on that whole bad idea, and then hopefully we can move past that.
Yeah. Well, and I only got a little bit of time left on this. Let me ask you, because I've done this before, and I know you probably got similar results if you've done this. Have you ever referred to the cop's costume as a costume to in front of them?
I have, yeah.
And I've never gotten a very good response from that. And so, how do they usually respond to you that way?
Well, sometimes there's a pause, and especially after using language is very important. So even saying like kidnapped and caged instead of arrested and transported, that they'll be like, what are you talking about? I don't want to do that. So it can maybe lessen that cognitive dissonance that exists. But I think it's important to note it's not an anti-police thing. I recognize that people are exposed to certain ideas and paradigms through their for their life, and they may have gotten into this with good intentions, and if you can paint for them an alternative where they could, be fulfilled and actually engage in consensual interactions, not be enforcing legislation that targets people, then it could be better for everybody.
Yeah, it's just being able to show, because you guys get a lot of views, and what's good about the internet now is that people can see them for what they are. So one of the questions JT, my co-host, asked me on the No State Project, do you think that police brutality is getting worse? Or I don't think it's necessarily getting worse. I think it's people like you and Adamo and other people, Free Keene, and that are with cameras and are filming it and making it available to people, that people are seeing that more. But I do appreciate the time, and just let everyone know they got you at.
CopBlock.org. It's on all the social networks. But you can hit me up at Pete@CopBlock.org. It's a decentralized group, so I just speak for myself, and encourage you to get involved in any capacity you feel so inclined.
All right, appreciate your work. Thank you.
Right on.